quickly. And this is a guy who's 27. You can argue he could be at a good level for 10 more years if you want him to be. So I thought he'd be part of the core. Obviously, he doesn't like the direction. Let's find out with Paul in Tarentum is our number one Cochrane Go One Better call of the night. Paul, your take on Brian Reynolds.
Thank you, Bob. Merry Christmas to both of you. And Chris, I hope you're feeling better. We're praying for you.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it, man.
I'm very disillusioned by all of this with Brian Reynolds. My girlfriend and I decided to get a 21 game pack, and now we were thinking maybe last night after watching this, we're just not sure we want to do this now. We're going to wait a little bit before we decide, but I don't understand the Pirates' way. I'm so sick and tired of ownership just doing kind of crap like this, and it's very disillusional to us, and I'm really tired of it, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it goes. It's an unending cycle. They keep telling you they're pushing in. Well, the year will be 2017 is a bridge year to 2019. Then it's 21. Then it's 23. Then it's 27. And we keep hearing this, and then all of a sudden, guys are gone, and guys who you thought would be core pieces, and now you'll see more prospects, more people brought in. At some point, these people better play, and they better play well. You got a guy like Reynolds who was acquired in a McCutchen deal, which is a good move. You have him here. He's playing well. It doesn't make any sense to me. But this happens on the heels today of two signings that, teams that are really thinking about it. The Mets give Verlander at 39, $86 million. And then Trey Turner, who's a pretty good shortstop with L.A. They lost Corey Seager 1 year to a $300 million deal in Texas. And now this guy leaves for Philadelphia for another $300 million. There's no end to spending, and there's no reason you can't spend. You don't have to spend at $300 million level, Chris, but you should spend, and you have an opportunity to spend on Brian Reynolds. Why wouldn't you? What's the going rate for a guy like him?
I mean, the going rate is probably 5 years and $100 million, right? I mean,
and that's reasonable.
People are so warped though by the way that the Pirates have done their business financially, Bob, that I think you see his overall production level, right? Where he had a good year last year. He didn't have a great year by like OPS standards or anything, but he's a good to very good offensive player, right? Who plays a premium defensive position, center field. That's $20 million a year player. And I know that people here say that, whoa. No, that's what the going rate is in baseball. I want to comment on two other things here. Paul, in the sort of despondent, beaten down tone in his voice, I think that's something that if I were the Pirates brass, I would be very careful about, wondering, is that something that's becoming a very commonplace mindset, attitude, and tone to the complaints? That just sounded like somebody who wanted desperately to support this team and wanted them to give him any olive branch, give him any reason to validate his desire to support them, and he's not getting it. Like that would be troubling to me if I heard that and I was somebody who was in, the owner of the team, the front office, whatever. As far as the other stuff goes, and Trey Turner signing that big deal, Verlander, I will say this much. Major League Baseball, like for the people who say there's a structural problem here, I think it's more a localized problem. You can still compete being a market size the Pirates are, Bob. But Major League Baseball, rest assured, has absolutely no problem whatsoever with how the Pirates are run and probably prefers it this way, quite frankly. This is a regional sport, and if it's a regional sport, it's not the NFL, right? It's not national where you could have Jacksonville win the Super Bowl and the NFL would be fine with that probably. If it's a regionalized sport like they believe it to be, then you want the biggest regions of the country represented, do you not? I mean, is that not sort of the mindset here if you're Rob Manfred?
Yeah,
so
but
that's what you're trying to court.
It undermines the entire competitive balance. If there's no economic balance, there's no competitive. I'm just saying.
But they want. Well, my point is they want like Houston because Houston's market size like 4 or 5. They want the Bay Area. They want New York. They want L.A. As long as Philly, as long as those teams are in it and competitive, Major League Baseball has very little interest in trying to implore the Pirates, the Guardians, the Reds, teams like that in mid-sized markets to do things any differently.
All right, let's get back to the football talk. Josiah in San Antonio joins us here on line 2. Hey, what's up, Josiah?
Hey, Bob. Hey, Chris. Hey, Bob. I wanted to say I was listening to the post-game show with you and Chris Hope yesterday. It was fun and fantastic. I felt like a Yenzer listening to this. Number 2, I want to say 2 things. Number 1, Pat Fryermuth, I think he should be the number 1 target for the receivers core as far as this dude is so solid, and I hate in the second half it seems like they seem to go away from him. And then quickly on the defense, why does it appear like even last week against Indianapolis, they start to wear down in the second half. They barely got by against the Colts. Then yesterday against Atlanta, you could see they almost started to wear down. Why do you think?
That's a good question, because that's not a full game. And quite frankly, if Atlanta had come out in the first half the way they did in the second half, you wonder what they would have done to the Steeler defense, because they owned the line of scrimmage. So night and day halves once again. And as far as Freiermuth is concerned, he's going to get his share. There's no question about it. He is a target of Kenny Pickett. But I also think they need to work in these receivers, specifically Pickens, more and stretch the field more to create underneath stuff for not only Freiermuth but also the guys out of the backfield. I think they have a role there to play.
They are not going to be able to become the offense that they want to be with Kenny Pickett, that Matt Canada presumably wants them to be, unless George Pickens is heavily involved. I mean, I think Freiermuth is a wonderful target. I didn't buy some of the Kelsey Jr. type comparisons, people saying he is that hybrid weapon type of tight end before, Bob, but now I do. After watching the way he had that catch and run, I start to understand why people say that. But you're not going to be a great offense unless you have a dude, capital D, dude, that teams are just petrified of, who can go down the field and make big plays. And Pickens among rookies has been really good at doing that. When the ball's thrown 20-plus yards in the air, I think he came into that Falcons game having the most catches, the most yards on those types of throws, despite like a Chris Olave having a great year. They must involve him prominently. The passing game has to fire through George Pickens, and then Pat Freiermuth can eat big time.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily have a problem with the way he handled himself yesterday. I mean, he got caught on television. If that hadn't caught him on television, we would never have known about it. A lot of times guys are displeased with not getting the ball, and quite frankly, you'd want a guy to want the ball. It was
also a homecoming game. It was also a game where, like, not a homecoming per se, but he played college ball at Georgia. Yeah, he had people there. I think he had every reason to believe he was going to be a prominent part of the offense. It wasn't like they took 3 deep shots to him and all of them came up empty. He got targeted twice. You go and tell people, like, hey, come to my game. I'm going to be in there. I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff. And you get thrown twice, and one of them is just an obvious, like, hey, let's keep George from, wanting to strangle somebody on the sideline. I can understand why he was that frustrated. I wouldn't want to see it twice in a row from him, but I don't think that he'll be that uninvolved twice in a row.
Kevin in Hartford, Connecticut joins us right now on the Bordas and Bordas hotline. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how you doing, Bob? I just got a little comment I was reading on the Steeler Insider that wrote an article about possibly, we get rid of Trubisky at the end of the season and look for a couple quarterbacks to fill in. I was just wondering, are we going to endure the same situation? And it must be that somewhere inside the organization, they may not feel Kenny Pickett is their go-to guy.
No, I think they feel that way, and I think the rest of this year will confirm their belief. That's why they drafted him. I think they've made a judgment on him. He's taking steps. They're not complete yet, and it's going to take some time. But, I mean, why would Trubisky stay around here? Why would Rudolph stay around here, quite frankly? But you also see what injuries can do. Trey Lance loses. He's out at the beginning of the season now. Garoppolo, and they're down to Mr. Irrelevant, who's now relevant. And they may go after Baker Mayfield. You never can have enough depth, Chris. And I wonder what's going to happen after this year if those guys elect to move on, or the Steelers say, we don't want you around.
Probably draft a project type of guy. There's always dudes bouncing around on the scrap heap that teams end up being familiar with. Maybe they could become the 15th team that Josh Johnson plays for, since the 49ers just signed him. I think there should be a mission, by the way, on the part of every NFL team to make sure that Josh Johnson plays for all 32 before he hangs them up. Is that so much to ask? That we can have a man who spends time with every single NFL team. They can just call him NFL legend Josh Johnson. I think that would be quaint. But yes, Kenny Pickett is the guy for the Steelers. I don't know what insider site that guy was reading that was insinuating that they might not believe in him. He's their guy, and I suspect they think he's only going to give them further evidence of that the last 5 games.
We're due for a break. We'll take it right now. Come back with more. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call right here live on Pittsburgh CW. Don't go away.